Chapter 16. A Melancholy Chapter. The prince had gone some way when the king called after him. How he wished he had the 7 league boots on, or that he had the cap of darkness in his pocket. If he had been so lucky, he would now have got back to Blockstein and across the border with Lady Rosalind. 1 million of money may not seem like much, but a pair of young people who really love each other could live happily on less than the cheque he had in his pocket. However, the king shouted very loud, as he always did when he meant to be obeyed, and the prince sauntered slowly back.
"Prigio,"
said his majesty,
"where are you off to? Don't you remember that this is your wedding day? My proclamation offered not only the money, which you have, but the hand of Lady Molinda, which the court chaplain will presently make your own. I congratulate you, sir. Molinda is a dear girl."
"I have the highest affection and esteem for my cousin, sir," said the prince. "But
"I will never marry him,"
cried poor Melinda, kneeling at the throne, where her streaming eyes and hair made a pretty touching picture.
"Never. I despise him."
"I was about to say, sir," the prince went on, "that I cannot possibly have the pleasure of my wedding my cousin."
"A family giblet, I presume. Is it in good working order?"
asked the king of the family executioner, a tall, gaunt man in black and scarlet, who was only employed in the case of members of the blood royal. "Never better, sire," said the man, bowing with more courtliness than his profession indicated.
"Very well," said the king. "Prince Prigio, you have your choice. There is the gallows, and here is Lady Molinda. My duty is painful, but clear. A king's word cannot be broken. Molly, or the gibbet."
The prince bowed respectfully to Lady Molinda. "Madam, my cousin," he said, "your clemency will excuse my answer, and you will not misinterpret the apparent discourtesy of my conduct. I am compelled, almost unwillingly, to slight your charms and to select the extreme rigor of the law. Executioner, lead on. Do your duty. For me, Prigio est prêt." For this was his motto, and he meant for that he was ready. Poor Lady Molinda could not but be hurt by the prince's preference for death or marriage over her, little as she liked him.
"Is life, then, so worthless, and is Melinda so terrible a person that you prefer those arms,"
as she pointed to the gibbet,
"to these?"
Here she held out her own, which were very white, round, and pretty. For Melinda was a good-hearted girl. She could not bear to see Prigio put to death. And then, perhaps, she reflected that there are worse persons than the queenship of Pantuflia. For Alfonso was gone. Trying would not bring him back. "Ah, madam," said the prince, "you are forgiving."
"You are brave,"
said Melinda, feeling quite a respect for him. "But neither your heart nor mine is ours to give. Since mine was another's, I understand too well the feeling of yours. Do not let us buy life at the price of happiness and honor." Then, turning to the king, the prince said, "Sir, is there no way but death or marriage? You cannot keep half only your promise. If I accept the reward, I must also unite myself with my unwilling cousin. Cannot the whole proclamation be annulled, and will you consider the bargain void if I tear up this flimsy scroll?" And here the prince fluttered the cheque for £1,000,000 in the air. For a moment the king was tempted, but then he said to himself, "Never mind, it's only an extra penny on the income tax." Then, "Keep your dross," he shouted, meaning 1,000,000, "but let me keep my promise, to the chapel at once. Or," and he pointed to the executioner, "the word of a king of Pantuflia is sacred." "And so is that of a crown prince," answered Prigio. "Mine is pledged to a lady."
"You shall be a mourning bride," cried the king savagely, "unless—"
Here he paused for a moment. "Unless you bring me back Alfonso and Enrico, safe and well." The prince thought for the space of a flash of lightning. "I accept the alternative," he said. if your majesty will grant me my conditions.
Name them, said the king.
Let me be transported to Gluckenstein, left there unguarded, and if in 3 days you do not return my brothers safe and well, to your majesty shall have spared a cruel duty. Prigio of Pantuflia will perish by his own hand. The king, whose mind did not work very quickly, took some minutes to think it over. Then he saw by granting the prince's conditions he would either recover his 3 sons, or, at least, get rid of Prigio without unpleasantness of having him executed. For though some kings have put their eldest sons to death, and most have wished to do so, they have never been better loved by the people for their Roman virtue.
Honor bright,
Said the king at last. Honor bright, answered the prince, and for the first time in many months, the royal father and son shook hands. For you, madam, said Prigio in a stately way to Lady Molinda, in less than a week, I trust we shall be taking our vows at the same altar, and at the close of the ceremony which finds us cousins, and will still leave us brother and sister. Poor Melinda merely stared, for she could not imagine what it meant. In a moment he was gone, and having taken, by the king's permission, the fine carpet, he was back at the ambassador's house in Gluckstein.